I haven't got all the answers to what I want to do yet. The foundation of the contract that I have is, I believe I have the best contract that there is in terms of how it's structured, in terms of time management, the team that's put around me. I think it has been great. I'm always looking to see how we can improve. How can I be more efficient and do more for the partners? How can I position myself to do more for the team? Naturally, in this step, I think it's easy just to go and sign a deal and continue, not thinking of what's afterwards. And I'm very conscious of the idea that I do want to continue with Mercedes. I would love to help them on this quest to pushing for change. So that's pushing they're obviously taking their cars green and electrifying more. I want to help them on that road. I would like to help them in terms of pushing for diversity, because that's also within the organization. As with every organization out there, there's not enough of it. So there's a lot to discuss and a lot to go through. But I think there's something we'll do, if not after the job is done, particularly at the end of the year. But nothing's set in stone. I think it's just about talking about it. And at the moment, I don't feel like I'm finished. I don't feel like moving forward. I think there's always areas to improve. I love racing. I love the challenge. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
I'm looking forward to drive here myself. I think, especially like turn 8. Probably it's going to be flat anyway. But you have the G-forces on your body for such a long time. I think that's quite cool.
Now, one of the questions that's come out of this press conference this afternoon so far is padding or no padding on
no
the
padding.
side of your... No padding?
No, I have that since... I remember my very first F3 test I did. After one day I couldn't hold my neck straight, and then I had to put the padding in, and my dad was laughing at me for, of course, using that. And since that day, I refused to put padding next to my head. I prefer that my head falls off than I'm running with padding, so it will be the same also this weekend.
Well, I prefer that my head doesn't fall off. I tend to use more padding than you do, always. So
I have no padding.
You have no padding. I have.
You have the little.
I have the little dimples.
Yeah.
There's actually a word we call them, but we can't really say it on air. But aerodynamic blisters is what we call it. We don't really call it something else.
How long did it take you to get rid of the mental pain after Imola? And is there something special you do to cope with such mistakes?
Obviously, it's still gutting, but I think in life you've got to move on, look forward, forget and learn from the past and your mistakes. And I think in the long run it will help me to become a more rounded, stronger driver. So because of the nature of the mistake, it was a very different feeling to other times when I've made big mistakes in my career in junior formulas, let's say when I've thrown it in the wall in Monaco, for example, or crashed fighting for the lead in Formula 3. But yeah, no, I'm feeling good and just looking forward to jumping back in the car.
It's been reported after Imola that you sent an apology letter to your team. Can you just share what you wrote in there and what was the reaction from the team like?
It wasn't necessarily an apology letter. It was just more a letter to the team. I often, send my thoughts and views to them, and I think, obviously, firstly, apologising for the mistake I made, which was, I felt unacceptable from my side. But I think following that mistake, it gave me a bit of time to think about, almost like the racing approach. And I think racing sometimes rewards the risk takers, but it also sometimes rewards the more cautious approach. And I think last weekend, perhaps, or probably most likely, I would have came away with a result had I taken the more cautious approach. But it then made me think, where do you draw the line? Do you be more cautious on your quali lap? Do you be more cautious with the setup? Do you be more cautious with the pit stop? We're all racers. We're all here to absolutely push the boundaries. And in doing that, mistakes will come along. And it also made me think, should we fear mistakes? And I don't think we should. So this is what I said to them. I think, do I regret what happened? Absolutely. But will it change my approach this weekend and moving forward? No, it won't. And we're all here to push the boundaries because we're all racers, and that's what we do when we go racing.
Romain, where do you see the pros and cons of IndyCar racing? And also for Kevin, if I may, is that a consideration for you as well?
Okay, so yes, I mean, first of all, I need to definitely have something done in IndyCar to decide if I'm going to travel back and forward or completely go there. I've got a wife and 3 kids, and it's not like I was a youngster that can just jump in a plane with a backpack and not look behind me. So obviously there are some consideration there. The pro of IndyCar, everyone pretty much has got the same car apart from the dampers and 2 type of engine. The races are pretty fun. There's good opportunities to win the race or to be on a podium. The cons is obviously I don't really know much about motorsport in the US. The tracks look cool. It's a very good championship, and I think there's more pro than cons. But obviously the lifestyle and where we live and what we do with the kids and the education and the future is very high on the priority list.
Are you having conversations with teams in IndyCar?
Yes.
Kevin, let's get your thoughts on that. Is IndyCar a consideration for you as well?
IndyCar is something that is very high on my list, and I've always been a fan, so I'd love to try it. You know, it's a challenge that I would really get really excited about. There's a lot of new things, but it's I've always found oval tracks to be something that I think is spectacular and very different to what I've ever done in my career. We don't really do ovals in Europe, so all of that, and as Romain said, the other tracks, the road courses out there are fantastic as well, really old school, and again, the thing about all the cars being very similar is also a very good thing. That means you can make a bigger difference as a driver. And my dad has been racing in America for about 20 years, and I've spent a lot of time over there, and I just really like being in America. So I think that would suit me pretty well.
I'd love to ask you about Sauber's 500th Grand Prix this weekend. You've known the team for nigh on 300 of those, your first season back in 2001, and of course now. How do you see the team evolving during the time you've known them?
Obviously, it's quite a bit bigger than it was when I started in F1 with them, and it's a pure factory has grown up as a size, and also I did the wind tunnel after I left. But it's more, it's obviously every team is different, and I've been in the teams that are in England, Italian, Swiss, obviously, so they work slightly different ways, but try to achieve the same end result. But obviously, it's a proper team, and we have all the tools. They've been building the cars up there. Obviously, now we have the gearbox coming from Ferrari and the engines, but they could basically, apart from the engine, they could do the gearbox and everything. So there's all the tools. Obviously, money is always an issue with the smaller teams, but that's how it is. And it's a great number where they get, because I think there's 3 teams that have done more Grand Prix. So it's quite for the let's say private team. It's been a long time there and surviving the really difficult times, and hopefully we can make them go higher up coming years.
Do you see 2020 as a success, or is there frustration at missed opportunities?
Well, I think it's been a year of lost opportunities. in a way, you know. We lost the podium in Austria that we were already running third, and we made the wrong call at the time. We had the same last weekend in Imola. So, yeah, 2 podiums. Lost plus all the other aspects, you know. We've had an up and down season. Then I got the virus. I lost 2 races. I think when the car was at its strongest point, in probably our best track, you know, Silverstone being our best track at the time that we had the most competitive car. So, yeah, it's been a bit unlucky year, but I still feel that things will turn around and we can make this season a great one.
Just talk us through, first of all, your impressive overtake on Charles Leclerc in the closing laps.
Yeah, thanks. It was a restart after the safety car, so tires were cold, so it was important, you know, to warm up those tires well, and had good confidence going into that lap, and I had a good exit out of previous corner, good traction. I used a little bit of slipstream on that short straight, and then I just, throw it in there and see what happens, really. I managed to brake a bit later, carry a bit more speed, and I had a good line, and it worked. So it was a good movie. I enjoyed it.
I must say it was probably the most painful DNF I've had so far. Obviously, these things happen in motorsports. When it happens for top 10 or when you're out of the points, it's always painful, but get over it. When it happens for top 5 and potential P3 on the podium, or it's obviously takes a bit longer to heal. But I was looking for the fight with, looking forward to the fight with Daniel. I think it could have been a nice one, and especially with the pace we showed all weekend. But unfortunately, I think we had enough luck in Italy for this year, and didn't really work out in Imola. But as in all, I think it was a really, really positive weekend for us.
Daniel, you spoke about racing points, still having a little bit the edge on Renault and McLaren in this great fight for third position in the constructors. Now, in which areas do you think exactly is the Pink Panther stronger?
The Pink Panther, nice. I look back at Imola in the race, and the pace of Perez, particularly kind of in the middle of the race. At that time, we couldn't match it, and I don't know. I feel like most of the year, maybe some circuits they've surprised us where they haven't been as strong as we would expect. You know, sometimes not getting into Q3, but I think once everything settles and they're able to get on top of their car, I guess, I feel like they just have a bit more probably overall downforce than maybe us and McLaren at the moment. So I feel when they're on, you know, they're on, and obviously we need to be kind of perfect if we really want to beat them.
Let's talk about the midfield battle as we come into this Turkish Grand Prix. You've said that it's tighter than it's ever been. But it seems increasingly difficult to read where McLaren sits in that pecking order. So where do you sit, and how do you think the car's going to go here and at the last 4 races?
I agree. I think it's very difficult to read. Probably the best summary is that we've been performing a bit better the last couple of races. We had there a bit of a tricky time in the, where was it, Nürburgring and Russia. And then since we've understood a bit better our package, we sort of got a bit on top of our little issues we were having, and now we are a bit more confident with what we have. We know in some tracks we are a couple of tenths slower than the Renault on the Racing Point, but we can get that back in the race. And then there will be other tracks, like, for example, Portimao, that we were the same or a tiny bit ahead. But on average, during the last 3 or 4 races, I would say we are a tiny bit behind on pure race pace and pure qualifying pace. But it's still not enough to discard us from the battle, obviously, and also because I think we're doing a very good job in maximizing our chances.
we just haven't had a clean run of races, and it's something we did have in the beginning of the season, and why we looked so strong is we had both of us up there every time we could, and we were maximising it when other teams weren't doing that so much, and they had one good car and one not so good. But lately, the other teams have been doing very good jobs, and we've just been the ones not making mistakes, I wouldn't say, but just we've been a bit more unlucky or been in unfortunate positions. And we just haven't been able to translate it always into looking as good and scoring as many points as what we would like.
The car is weaker this season, so I can't speak if the car will have been better. But anyway, I think it has made me a better driver for sure, because in difficult times I found my determination in other ways, focusing on myself, trying to improve, even though it's not to fight for podiums or wins. We are fighting for lower positions, but at the end it matters as much for me. And then in terms also of patience, I don't think I was a very patient guy in the past, but now I have to be in the situation I'm in now. And I feel like I've improved on that too. So yeah, surely I'm a stronger driver than where I was at the beginning of the season. Then if it's if it's because of the situation we are in at the moment.
Sebastian, when you won here 9 years ago, last time there was a race here, you were kind of the rising star of Formula One, and this season has been very, very difficult. You've been swimming against the tide. The waves have been getting higher and higher all season. But what can you take from this in terms of how it's helped you with regards to what's going to happen next season?
Well, I don't think there's any point going into the details in terms of driving, but I think in the bigger picture, I'm still swimming, and I will keep on swimming. So I think that's the real, not conclusion, but probably a lesson to myself, that I'm happy to keep swimming, despite, as you put it, the tide maybe facing the opposite way. I think you always look for other ways and alternatives to find a nicer swim. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's something left for me, and looking forward to that.